garden cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. चल बॉम्बे मेरी माँ से मिलाता हूँ, चल घर पे तुझे हाथ से खिलाता हूँ.
Elliot Choy is finally back home after studying abroad in Spain.
Okay, so I was studying abroad in Barcelona this semester, traveling all around Europe. According to the news, I was
living his best life.
Yeah, pretty much. But I never saw Corona coming.
636 people have died in mainland China from the novel coronavirus.
53 people have died in England.
Nearly 800 people have died.
At least 200 dead.
The president has ordered the country into lockdown from Tuesday.
COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
So yeah, Corona was spreading across Europe like wildfire, and after a weekend in Santorini, I came back to Barcelona with a fever, cough, and sore throat. All symptoms of Corona. And then I found out that some friends I went out with the week before got tested positive for Corona. So I called the health authorities in Spain and they wouldn't call me back, but after a few days they told me they would come give me a test. And I'm running out of time because TikTok only gives me 60 seconds, so like and follow for part 2. This is the story of how I ended up meeting Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show. So to be clear, I'm like any other college student. I studied business at Vanderbilt, but my sophomore year, I started making vlogs and posting them on YouTube. One day, I was hanging out with some friends after class and I got an email. It was from NBC and they were offering to fly me out to New York to give me a tour of the SNL studio, The Tonight Show, and Late Night. So of course I said yes, and a few days later, I was on a flight out to New York. They put me in this really nice hotel and even gave me $300 worth of room service, even though it was only for one night. But the next day I woke up and it was time to tour the studio. I was there with around 20 other college students who had all been flown in so that we could share our trip on social media. They took us backstage, we got to see the SNL studio, and we even got to meet Seth Meyers. Finally, they took us to see the set of The Tonight Show, and while we were freaking out, Jimmy steps out from behind backstage to surprise us. He was probably the nicest guy I've ever met. He took pictures with all of us, gave us a tour of his desk, and later that night, we even got to see The Tonight Show live. This is the story of the time I snuck into a private event to meet David Dobrik. Okay, so it was the last day of my summer internship in New York, and to celebrate, I decided to go into the city after work and explore. I took my electric skateboard, hopped on a subway, and while I was riding around on the streets of New York, I ran into a huge group of people all riding electric skateboards. I asked them if I could join, they said yes, and I ended up riding around Central Park with them for a while. Anyways, I then got a text from my friend saying that David Dobrik was at an event only a few blocks away from where I was. So, we met up and tried to see if we can get in. When we first got to the venue, the security wouldn't let us in because the event was invite only, but after some careful negotiation with the head of security, they finally let us in. At this point, it was 10 p.m. and I hadn't eaten dinner, so I was very happy to find out that they were catering Shake Shack. After downing some burgers, we looked for David, but he was nowhere to be found, so we played some Smash to pass the time. As the event was coming to a close, we thought we weren't going to see David, but then, out of nowhere, he came out of a room and we got to chat. He said hi to my vlog and told me I was crazy for carrying around such a huge camera, and we also said hi to Jason and Natalie. That night was definitely the highlight of my summer, maybe even my life.